In this video, I'm going to talk about polysaccharides, which are carbohydrates. They are made of smaller units called monosaccharides, which I have done a video on, and it talks about the basic unit of polysaccharides. So I talk about monosaccharides such as glucose and how these monosaccharides join together. So if you have seen the video, there should be a little bit of revision, but if you haven't, you should watch it really. Okay, so this is a simple diagram of alpha glucose. Hopefully you remember that. And if I draw another one, the OH is at the bottom, and the same. You have all these monomers, these basic building blocks, all monosaccharides, one piece of the sugar. And what happens is we take away this hydrogen and oxygen, which adds up to H2O. They leave, and they leave us with an oxygen. Okay, so they leave us with an oxygen. Just extend these so it looks a bit neater. So they leave us with this oxygen, and this singular oxygen is called a glycosidic bond. And its formation is done by a condensation reaction because it loses some water. And if I added some water back into there, it's called a hydrolysis reaction, it would break the bond. Okay, but if you want to know more about that, watch my other video on sugars. This video is more about how all these monosaccharides build up to make the three most popular polysaccharides for level 3. So for access courses, BTEC, A-level. So what we've got is our polysaccharides, and there's 3 that you need to know for these levels. They're all created by these, the glycosidic bonds. So what we have is we have starch. This is the first one you need to know. Well, it doesn't really matter what order you know it in. Okay, starch. But starch is the one people get confused with the most, okay? And cells get their energy from glucose, but plant cells store this excess energy as starch, okay? But it's mixed up of 2 different structures, okay? So all these monosaccharides are joined together, like I've shown before. So I'm not going to draw rings, I'm just going to draw circles like this. So these each represent a glucose molecule, okay? And then you can see the shape. So starch is made up of 2 separate polysaccharides, but we're still talking about starch. So amylose is one of these polysaccharides that combine to make starch. Okay, and amylose is made where you get the alpha glucose, so it's alpha glucose, they're all joined together, but what they do is they start to turn. Okay, so I'm now going to draw a line rather than drawing 100 million circles. But these all represent these circles. So amylose is all coiled up. It's a chain of alpha glucose, okay, but the way it's angled is that the way the bonds are angled is that it spins around like this, okay, which means that it's long. So these are the kind of terminology what I remember with amylose. It's long and it's unbranched. Okay, as you can see, there's no branches. Okay, it's made of alpha glucose, and it is very, very compact, which makes it a really good storage molecule because you can fit a lot of these alpha glucose molecules in a small amount of space because it's very compact. The other component of starch is another polysaccharide, so it's another sugar, another polysaccharide that's made up of all these, and it's called amylopectin. Amylopectin. However, this looks slightly different than this shape. So if I was to draw my circles first, my attempts of circles, here's all my alpha glucose. So again, it's alpha glucose, but it has branches coming off it. Okay, so carry on with my line. It has branches like so. Okay, so this means it's another long chain. However, it is branched. And it is branched with alpha glucose. The good thing about these side branches is that enzymes can get into them, and they can get in these enzymes and break them off. Okay, so it's very good to release energy. That's why it's like that. Okay, so it's good for energy release. Okay, so both of these polysaccharides, amylose and amylopectin, combine to create starch, which is the storage molecule within plants. It's important that you know that starch is insoluble in water and doesn't affect the water potential. So it doesn't cause water to enter the cells by osmosis, which would make them swell. And so as a result, it's good for storage. So that's the first one, our first polysaccharide. The other one we're going to do is we're going to do a similar one, okay, called glycogen. And animal cells also get their energy from glucose, okay, but they store it as glycogen, not as starch. Okay, again, glycogen is made from alpha glucose only, but this time the shape it's like a hybrid from the other one. Okay, so it's a bit more advanced. There's only one shape. It doesn't consist of any more polysaccharides. Okay, but the shape this time. So imagine these are all my alpha glucoses stuck together by glycosidic bonds. And when I was talking about amylopectin, it had branches for enzymes to get down easier to. However, the problem with this is there's still a lot of space. That's why plants use amylose to compact some of it. However, glycogen doesn't coil things up, it just has more branches. So this space is filled up. So glycogen, all these are little compartments of alpha glucose, but it's much more branched. Which means it's good for storage. Good for storage because it's these spaces are filled. But it's also good for quick energy because at the end you can still get your enzyme to take away the glucose molecule. The last polysaccharide that you need to know for level 3 isn't for energy. So starch and glycogen are for energy storage, okay, and energy release, but this one isn't, and it's called cellulose. And it's different from the other two on a few reasons. First of all, it's made from beta glucose, whereas the others were all made of alpha glucose. Okay, but this time it's not used for energy. So the way it's built is you have your alpha glucose molecule, and then another one joined by a glycosidic bond, and so on. But then what you have is another row of these. Okay, so this is a nice chain. You have another row. I'll draw the beta glucose first, all joined by glycosidic bonds, and then they're joined by hydrogen bonds. So these rows are joined by hydrogen bonds. Okay, and they are weak, but they're strong enough to hold it together. And again, there'll be another row. This one's going to be quite far away. I don't know why I've drawn it so far away. The hydrogen bonds are going to join the rows together, but then across here, you're going to have your glycosidic bond. Okay. These cellulose chains are linked, as I said, by hydrogen bonds, and they form strong fibers. So even though these are weak, they form strong fibers called microfibrils. Doesn't sound like it's a word, that. Okay, so they form this, and these are the stringy things that you get on plants, and they provide structural support for cells, like within the cell walls and things like that. Okay, so that's the last polysaccharide you need to know. So we've got starch, which is made up of two other polysaccharides, amylose and amylopectin. We have the other plant one. I'll do it in a bit of a different order. Okay, so both of these are plant, and this is for structure. Okay, I should say all from alpha. This one's just from beta glucose, I mean. And then the last one is glycogen, which you associate with animals, and that's made of alpha glucose.